let's see what we want to do. Hold on a second here. I'm going to mute all and then turn it over to Mark. And here we want the view speaker. Okay, Mark, you're all set.
Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for coming today. It's going to be a wonderful feature. We have Jordan Franklin, Peter Bushyeager, Mitch Highfill, and Jiwon Choi. And we're delighted to have this New York contingent with us today. But before we get started, here's Jeffrey Cyphers Wright, my co-host. He received his MFA after studying with Allen Ginsberg, and he's best known as a new romantic poet. He's also a publisher, critic, eco-activist, impresario, filmmaker, puppeteer, and artist. He's the author of 19 books of verse, including Blue Liar and Party Everywhere, and his poems appear all over the place, including New American Writing, The Brooklyn Rail, Posit, and his most recent work also appears in the anthologies Best American Poetry, New York Insiders, and Contemporary Surrealist and Magical Realist Poetry. And Jeff's latest work is a book of sonnets and artwork called Doppelgangster, which is out from my own Mad Hat Press. And he also won the Sir Vision James Tate Prize not too long ago. And he publishes Live Mag. There you go, Jeff.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. And thank you for doing this again in the 6th year. I just want to, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. How could I forget you? How could you? How could you forget me? Hey, listen, everybody. I just wrote this little haiku for Mark. I wanted to share it with you. Okay, go ahead. Okay, thank you. A bumblebee flew into my ear, and out of my mouth came a butterfly. Oh, thank you, Rufus. Think about, oh, very good. Thank you, Rufus. Well, how about that? It was sweet of him. So I'm going to read a little sonnet before I introduce Cassandra, and this is called Sea Answers Below. Dropping out of the blue, a skimpy cloud snags in the top branches of an elm until shredded it joins a flock of winds, snared by the sap of the apocalypse, amber alert. Only the dead exist without fear. Tomorrow sags heavy with their desire. Spiritual trespassing. How's my driving? Listening to Triomphe de la République. Believe in the path. The bouncer loves you. Better to take action than stew. Really gorgeous, like what flows between us. By night, the Hudson worships, its black roots clutching at the source of our thirst. So that poem kind of worked out there. I like the amber alert with the snared and the apocalypse. So let me introduce our wonderful host. Cassandra Atherton is an award-winning prose poet and international expert on prose poetry. Her prose poetry is widely anthologized and has been translated into Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. Cassandra has published more than 30 books and is currently writing an illustrated book of prose poetry on the Hiroshima Maidens with fundings from the Australia Council and the Victorian government. Cassandra co-wrote prose poetry and introduction and co-edited the Anthology of Australian Prose Poetry. She's commissioning editor for Westerly magazine and professor of writing and literature in Melbourne, Australia. And she's up early for us, Cassandra.
I am. Hey, everyone. It's a long weekend here in Melbourne. It's kind of ridiculous and I'm a little bit against it, but we get a long weekend because of a horse race. So the Melbourne Cup is on Tuesday, and yes, they give us a day off for a horse race. I'm going to read a prose poem about a pink lake that we have in Western Australia. It's very beautiful. We have a few pink lakes in Australia. Apparently it's algae on the water, so it has a certain chemical reaction, but it's quite beautiful and it changes color throughout the year. Sometimes it's lolly pink and other times it's a sort of a lilac color. So it's called Hutt Lagoon. We're on a road trip to the Pink Lake. You're circumnavigating my body on the coral coast, a curving highway of lips and fingertips. My skin is ballet pink, strawberry milkshake, bubblegum. Under your body, it burns magenta and fuchsia. At noon, we park at Pink Lake Lookout, and I put my feet on the dashboard while you slide out of your seat. Clouds ghost the lake, and I remember you likening my body to Western Australian sand dunes. I was your Borgesian book of sand, the sift in an hourglass. On the shoreline, I drop my clothes, flashing neon, radioactive. And it's always my pleasure to read the incredible Mark Vincenza's bio. I know you love it as much as I do. So please, as I said, mouth the words, join in when you can, and wait for the surprise at the end. Mark Vincenza is a poet, fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, and musician. He's published many books of poetry and translations and fiction, including, more recently, The Pearl Diver of Irun Mani, The King of Prussia is Drunk on Stars, Spells for the Wicked with Unlikely Books, and our friends over there, Ironclad with Spite and Dival, and All the Tricks of Language with Dos Madres Press. And next year, No More Animal Poems with White Pine Press. Also accompanied by a post-classical music and spoken word album called No More Animal Songs. Mark is also a prolific translator and translates from German, Romanian, Spanish, Icelandic, and French. He has published 12 books of translations, including, we love this one, An Audible Blue, Selected Poems 1963 to 2016 by award-winning Swiss poet and novelist, we know it's Klaus Mertz by now, and it won the 2023 Massachusetts Book Prize for Translated Literature. His newest book of translations, In the House, Still Light by Klaus Mertz, was just released by White Pine Press. His own work has been translated into many languages, including Japanese, Chinese, Russian, French, Italian, Spanish, Romanian, Greek, German, and Icelandic. He is currently working on a novel entitled The Age of Occasions. Vincenza is editor and publisher of Mad Hat Press and publisher of New American Writing. Here we go. He's lived all over the world, from Brazil to China to Iceland to India. He was born in Matilda Hospital on the Peak in Hong Kong, but he now lives on a farm in rural western Massachusetts overlooking Herman Melville's Greylock Mountain, Melville's inspiration for Moby Dick, where there are still more alfalfa loopers, funereal dusky wings, and parsnip webworms than 10-toed bipedal earthlings. You've outdone yourself, Mark. It's been a sad month away from you, but honestly, this is everything. Can we have a poem?
We certainly can. And we should thank the alfalfa loopers and the funereal dusky wings and the parsnip webworms for this. This is something called Into the Gilded Age with Marcel Proust, or Searching for Lost Time. And there's a quote, "A change in the weather is sufficient to recreate the world," by Marcel Proust. A socio-comedy in 5 uncertain acts. 1. Within a budding grove. To acquire the means of happiness was to plan parties and suppers and picnics. You'd change clothes 5 or 6 times a day. Then comes the divorce in high life, a dramatic scandal of palatial proportions, a sensation in New York City, and of course the underlying principle was never discussed. 2. The captive. What happened in Paris stayed in Paris. Do anything, just don't flaunt it, was the decree. But the season was coming to an end, and the powers that be had removed themselves from Swan's Way. Who doesn't want to retain custody of their own God-forsaken children? Social standing can teeter in the blink of an eye. 3. The fugitive. Yet the sensation suddenly found her bearings, married a robber baron and built a palace with faux Versailles servants and gardens, all those powdered wigs and polished brass buttons, canapes on every silver tray, and fish eggs on curved silver spoons that multiplied into infinity. Either way you look at it, it jellifies first, then takes form. For the way. Meanwhile, every evening the barnyard owl watched from the cornices. Yes, she was tending to her 3 young minor offspring, one with a deaf ear, another born with stars in her eyes, and the third a healthy specimen predestined to become the forever one. The pinnacle was when her first popped out. 5. And then time regained. Here was the light in the Gilded Age, light in general. It wasn't until they reached San Sebastian, where her husband originally having hailed from, that the oysters came into view, and with them too the canapes and the duck salad, the foie gras and the gras fumé. Meanwhile, another was born, she with her mother's freckles and curls, and facing the madding crowd, she became beautiful.
All right, Mark, beautiful. That was great. 5 pieces, 5 easy pieces. They weren't that easy though, huh? That was great. All right, Jordan E. Franklin. Our next reader, our first feature today, hails from Brooklyn, New York. She received her MFA from Stony Brook, Southampton, and a PhD from Binghamton University. Jordan is the author of the poetry collection When the Signals Come Home from Switchback Books and the chapbook Boys in the Electric Age from Tolson Books. Her work has appeared in Breadcrumbs, Frontier, Tinderbox Poetry Journal, and the Southampton Review, Torch Literary Arts, and elsewhere. And Jordan is the winner of the 2017 James Hurst Poetry Prize and the 2020 Gatewood Prize and the 2024 AWP Intro Journals Project Award. She's a dynamic reader. You're going to love it. Jordan Franklin, take it away.
Hello. Thank you for having me. So I'm gonna start with some new stuff and then I'm gonna read a poem or two from my first collection. But thank you all for having me here. Why Poet Shaved Her Head During the Zombie Apocalypse. When the world blinks out for good, there will be no time for perms or relaxers. No more hours spent in a salon chair. No more chemical burns to leave patches in my scalp. Now I can get caught in the rain ruining my hair. There's less sweat on the back of my neck. There will be no time for perms or relaxers. In public, I'm invisible. I muffle my footsteps, slow my breathing until the only sign of life in me is the way I escape stage right. With the locks gone, there's nothing left to hold on to. No entry points in a fight, no red flags. I am as impenetrable as I've always wanted to be. There will be no time for perms or relaxers. I've shed expectations. Michonne came to me in a dream and gave me the go ahead. No hair left on me to say, sweet, try me, victim. I got tired of eyes and fingers getting caught in the strands. There will be no time for perms or relaxers. I see myself clearer in the mirror. Now it's easier to wash the blood from my scalp. Hey, my name is Jordan Franklin. I've been writing a lot about zombies and horror films lately. So my current work is I'm working on a full-length collection, which is all about this character finds himself in a zombie apocalypse. I'm also working on a chapbook about this character who wants to become a monster or some of her favorite horror movie monsters. So this next poem I'm reading, it's called 2, Poet Draws with Her Father. Question. Tell us about your earliest encounter with the assailants. I didn't pry. I aimed, squeezed the trigger, reached his bleeding heart. As the world blinked out, Father decided to go first. Said his hands were steady enough for the pen. A failed artist, he wanted to draw a hole in himself large enough to exit through. Minimal mess, neat, no need to erase or try again. I remember the sun's burst of orange, its pulp mangled by the window blinds, the low hiccups of the television under our breaths in the room. A Bible spine glared at us from his bed. Honor thy father, even if it hurts him. Honor him with every digit in your hand and every spark in your cells. Let him go so he may walk the remains of this earth through you. I watched him draw the circle in his chest, waited as he spilled out as much of himself as he could into the room. Father lied. He did not die. All of him couldn't get out. No, I loved my father. No, my hand was steady. Thank you. So these next 2 poems or so are from the chapbook I'm currently working on. And this first one was inspired by the Adriana Smith case. For those who don't know, there's this woman who was declared legally brain dead, but she was pregnant. And so due to like Georgia's like 1 heartbeat law, they had to preserve her body until like she was able to give birth. You know, her family was totally against it, you know? So this poem is called For Black Girls Who See Monsters When Their Heart Beats Too Much. Flat line. In Georgia, a heartbeat's a matter of ethics. You see Adriana, no brain activity, but the faintest hummingbird flutter from the fetus inside. The sound louder than the family's cries, louder than the mother's stillness. The machine's lights and flickers barely surround sound over those tiny, weak beats. Even in her textbook death, Miss Smith's too much. The country's watching, so why can't she be a headline? Law is the law, they say, not like she can say no. Alive or dead here in Georgia, no isn't denial. The word becomes a buzz, a whisper, the blacker the no. Under all the noise, Adriana supine, the constant hum of life all around her but not hers. Unwilling, dead center, unable to call her body mine. Thank you. This next poem is inspired by Dr. Sleep. It's a sequel to The Shining, Stephen King's The Shining. And so the main antagonist in that is Rose the Hat, who literally travels the country with her group, the True Knot, and they steal the steam from kids. And so this poem is Rose the Hat Gives You Pointers on Monsterhood. And it's after Federico Garcia Lorca and Dr. Sleep. Sweetheart, all the best monsters fill themselves. Eat well, stay young, live long. Let it be gospel, your very blood, the phrase hanging from the kitten's tail on that foolish motivational poster in your brain. That Lorca poem you love about the orange tree, tear its sweetened page from your heart. In this world of trees, be the woodcutter, child. Take up the axe and make the very earth tremble from each blow. Your body will be more than a body. It will carry its myths and names long after the ones who uttered them join the dust before you. Sweetheart, neither yield nor break. No star will mock you, no one will dare cut your shadow from you. In the mirror at night, see yourself full. All right. So this last one is from my first poetry collection. And I don't know, like originally I wasn't gonna read it, but I'm feeling like very like I don't know. I feel like I'm on a like tense right now, so I'm gonna read it. So this poem has trigger warnings. Let me start first off. It was based on a prompt I had to write for this poetry workshop I took one time. And the prompt was write from the perspective of somebody you dislike. And so I picked like my paternal grandfather. And this poem called Grandpa's Poem, it has trigger warnings, references to like alcoholism, domestic violence. There's also a slur or two thrown in there. I don't agree with the slurs. I'm just like this persona. So yeah. Sorry to end so heavy, but that's where my kind of like where my vibe is right now. So I apologize for that. So Grandpa's Poem. Baby, I'm cack as they come. Blood hotter than a sunrise or hot sauce on catfish. Been cack since my granddaddy and his folks took back that plantation, knuckle by knuckle. And I tell that story whenever whiskey threatened my lips, or I hear that old forehead scar of mine sing its love song for the rock that cracker drove into it. I never wanted to be a father. I prayed and prayed, but your grandma pushed out 4 boys. I took one look at them little black mugs and knew I had to beat men into them. As for your granny, she was all right. Too much lip, though. A nurse in her suit that ran so white against the blues and yellows, I sang into her bones. And your daddy, big mouth like his mama. Big enough to holster my gun into that night. Told your granny I was a backdoor man, and why this cornstalk of a boy think he could talk like a man. I wish I could say I learned to keep my hands clean as a father, but I've never been one for lying. The bottle made me dance as well as sing. I danced all over my house, worked my hands and feet to every surface I touched. I've always been an entertainer. Could send that one-eyed Sammy Davis nigga packing with his rats and get your grandma ups and leaves me. I want to tell you the distance was enough to stop me. But whiskey got a kick like a drum, and even when old cancer took my tongue from my mouth, I still sing and sing and sing. Thank you.
Yay. So powerful. So powerful. Thank you, Jordan. That was great. Amazing.
Thank you.
Mark.
Yeah, next we hear from Peter Bushyeager, who was born in Philadelphia and grew up in nearby Haddon Township, New Jersey. Peter was educated at Temple University in Syracuse, receiving degrees in communication. During the 70s and 80s, he was an integral part of the burgeoning Philadelphia poetry scene and co-edited the literary magazine Hot Water Review. He moved to New York City in the 80s, becoming active in the literary community surrounding the poetry project. He edited Wake Me When It's Over, the selected poems of New York poet Bill Kushner. And Peter's poetry itself has appeared in publications including the Painted Bride Quarterly, the Philadelphia Inquirer, Hurricane Review, New American Writing, Long News Live Mag, the Best American Poetry blog, and in several chapbooks, and the full-length collection, Citadel Luncheonette. Welcome, Peter. Are you there, Peter? Oh, you need to unmute, my friend.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, good.
Great. Thanks to everyone involved with Lit Balm for inviting me. I'm really happy to be reading. I've sat in on several of your sessions before, and they're really wonderful. I'll be alternating regular long poems with shorter poems that are from a 20 poem some sequence called Platitudes. 8 of those will be appearing in the imminent issue of Local Knowledge. So, Marsh. The screen said sleep directly on the ground and download magnetic field updates. They said that infamous year is still present in the pop song's layered echo, the mass grouping of edgy tambourines like tinsel. That photo on the mantle, they said, documents the point of cross-culture spread, the analog trance giving way to digital everything. They said, have you the pleasure of singing, or do you just work, then sort of topple over? Or maybe you dance free in your own red mist, straining against your nicely hurt body. Either way, the telltale sign is upon you. They said you lack a demon. Simply plod the land, take long drives into town, simply to talk to someone like me in a rush, in a thick distemper. In the enervated 19th century, I'd have no thoughts or teeth in my head, but I'm in the 21st with the benefit of color-matched crowns mounted on titanium posts as I rip into chicken at 1 a.m., wondering which famous criminal is the sexiest. Somewhere savvy engineers extract road salt from water, but I'm ensconced on the grayed-out eucalyptus bench facing this marsh. The smart reptiles with fast, stubby legs know when to hide, but I'm locked in with the damp and musty smells, sidelined along the estuary as fresh water butts brackish. On the bank, determined brown birds sort through promising bark from oak down with thuds and red pine down with slithering, and my home is way across the water near the Capitol, where they say the most practiced officials confer. Author. You're altered and writing about mother's edgy dependence on hospital mirrors. Coarse black eyebrows set off by dead white hair, dark circled eyes, a calling card, humor through the architecture. To gain energy and focus, you imagine an audience clad in a crazy quilt of flannels, organza, and tulle. If you're still thinking, then breathe. If you can't sleep, be the demon in my dream. Peter worried it in a wry way, like residual wrapping stuck to chocolate. Reception. She wore bruised silk that mimicked older blooms. They rejoined in the garden, mostly pine or zen. At the wedding's messy open bar, a spokesman for animal needs, pores closed, grass stains left behind. There was a pattern in nature's rumblings. They fucked in the moraine to bolster thinning spirits. After the sentences flooded with soft, indirect light, fish was cooked and they weren't afraid to eat it. Sorry to rotate my shoulders and block you. Sorry you admired big hands and bling. This poem is called Week of Dreams, and it starts with a quote from Nathaniel Hawthorne. We dream in our waking moments and walk in our sleep. Monday. 3 ambulances whirred down First Avenue, followed by 18-wheelers hauling an asphalt machine, tailed by a cop car with flashing lights. Yesterday's map led us to roads that were just mire, running alongside industrial farms with heavy gray chemical soil that held planted potatoes perfectly vertical. Tuesday. They called it an ordinary mountain, but it unexpectedly spewed lava, edited a lake, buried a road, relocated a riverbed, and left raw products inside your head, where you're actually 6 years old, trying to fall asleep, propped up high with large, square, purple chenille pillows. Acid suddenly rises in your throat, but a kid can't diagnose, so you focus on the rescue dog coming next week. Wednesday. A musical replay from the past. The basses in your college choir overreach in the Beethoven and become one huge scratched throat singing about brotherhood. No patience with the resistant pieces of a failed collage on the card table. Dramatic, messy clots of color from the scarlet quince bush, cornered, caged, but still flowering against dusty chain link. Thursday, gather up the sated flowers like old Rolodexes that bulged and got messy. Clear them out until the landscape is clean green right up to your door. These days, midway between denim and linen, bulbs done, but leaves haven't flopped and gone brown. Friday, orchids obsessed with sex. Fragonards rococo courtiers in embroidered waistcoats and pastel petticoats, flirting on ribbon swings. Without naming it, describe your favorite animal, and when you're done, forget about the number of legs, the length of its snout, or the conventions of dress in this or any century. Remember life a fortuitous collision. Saturday, rerun the gray soil that enables easy potato harvest, the dishonest road with a sideline and mud, the mountain, forget the mountain. Remember the rescue dog's charming manners. Every night, kick off the sheets, raise your legs an inch off the mattress, and tense your thighs for confidence. Sunday, pundits and new asphalt roads that snake onto retrofitted bridges that span rivers with red, muddy banks. Against all odds, the rivers run crystal clear into the capital city on the hill. But you still peek at the map, faultier than before, the map that led to the mire. Passion. A pleasure house behind the brambles, dirty sheets for sleeping. Tell the story out of existence and take this cup from me. The childhood archway cracked, plaster turned to powder, the pass-through perilous. The rain proceeded as planned. The kiss had scale and edge. Story time. All love affairs start in foreign cities with no-name bushes next to purple somethings. Not to be stellar, but to rub shoulders in a hat that depends upon personal connections. Those who linger wallow in the wake while animals seek out any green corridor. My religion or your religion, plot-driven and on track. Better than a novel, it comes from the body and follows circuits that perform unknown tasks. And the last one is called Current Affairs. So, you find yourself in a small town named after a dead racehorse with an opaque lake in the corner they call Crystal. No attempt at truth here. You lapse into a plodding rhythm so history doesn't splash. You're sick of the immobile microfiber shirt that always looks good but doesn't breathe, and neither do you under its clever green buttons, just one of several mysteries that present themselves. So let's pretend you're organizing them. Let's suckle sources of variety and excitement and engender an excess of spirit this dead horse town can't contain. Still got nipples. Still got your close horizon that flatlines in undocumented ways with great color, great shape, great pillows to ease you into a brief but great message just for you, you animal. It's scary. It's scary. So be a kid. Continue as a guest. Make friends with crows. They'll bring you foil and bottle caps that glitter. It's excellent on the wooded outskirts. For nearly 16 hours, the hemisphere's longest night, under dark pine, all the animals open their pores. Crows are there. You just can't see them. Then sun finally shows on the foil that glitters excellent. In the backwoods, feels scattered for 16 hours. Then crows spot your handsome face. Thank you.
All right, Peter Bushyeager. How about that for some variety and excitement, huh? The map of the mire. That's where we're headed, right? Beautiful stuff, Peter. Hey, what was the name of the horse?
Westmont.
West what?
Westmont.
Westmont.
I grew up in Westmont, New Jersey, which is named after a racehorse that won a lot of races.
It sounds like it's Australian. Like racing with a wombat. Oh, right, Peter Bushyeager. Thank you. And next, I was thinking about Mitch Highfill. and him sitting in the Ted Berrigan workshop with a bunch of us. Mitch, was it the time Tom Savage fell over in his chair backwards? It was sad.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah,
Maybe.
there were a lot of people there. It was really fun though. Ted was so great. So I've known Mitch a little half a minute there, and it's a real pleasure to hear him. I just heard him a couple of weeks ago, and I was really impressed. And Mitch is the author of Five from Lunar Chandelier Collective. Thank you, Kim Lyons and friends. And also Liquid Affairs from the great United Artists Press with Louis Warsh. And work has appeared in Heights of the Marvelous, St. Martin's, and Readings in Contemporary Poetry from DIA. He he lives in Brooklyn and works in Manhattan. Please welcome Mitch Highfill. All right, Mitch.
All right. So I'll start with a very oldie. Gemini. The first time that I saw my double in the Grand Union to my left, from which I can never see into things, like the struggle of opposites, except where all things come to justify the writing, except the writing itself. The doorway to my building had eyes and a voice. Its brain was the brain of a moron. This morning I noticed the elevator was boarded up. Strolling down 2nd Avenue at midnight, wing rubbings of insects in my throat, I asked my double for a glass of water. One person changes into another with no warning, no wish for it, or taking the surface as final, awaiting repairs that will never be made. I am all too apt to scatter my attentions, and I believe it is for my own good. Lately, I've been working on a batch of poems using Emily Dickinson in this book in particular, which is her envelope poems, or some of them anyway. And what I've been doing is taking her starting line as a prompt and going on from there. So I want to read a bunch of those for most of this. Not admitting of a wound until it eats your breakfast and demands more jam on the side, until the sting turns to ache and the hours drag into evening. How to not know what you know. As old as woe, what cannot grow can neither know nor feel the slow buildup of grief, the dropping leaf, however brief, its lost belief in photosynthesis. Not as a bird, not as a bug, as a collective of birds and bugs that operate in tandem, designing gardens with no name recognition, no statute, no tribute, no podcast, no Twitter, no plague of selfies to see. Death warrants are supposed to be legible, aren't they? So that we cannot be served if we cannot read said warrant. Of course, but accidents will happen, don't they? I have no life but this, a series of marks on the page. I pretend are in cahoots with objective reality, also elusive to name. Things like sunflower, light bulb, and insect. And not just any insect, this one. In this short life, a little John Lee Hooker with Miles Davis makes the medicine go down. Long years apart, do we still know the little habits, quirks that drew us to each other in the first place? Do we still thrill at the sound of each other's voice, the scent at the nape of the neck, the back and forth of our affections still an inch away, unchanged? Oh, sumptuous moment. The dew point happens to my face, pinkish sky seen through oak leaves, first sight on waking. On that specific pillow, my head becomes weightless. Images flash fragments of songs, trickle into darkness, and stories spin me into themselves, easing gently into night. Accept my timid happiness as down payment on my indifference to so much suffering, my own and others, which is so painful to embrace. The spry arms of the wind lift and separate all things in their path. The leaves and detritus each go where the wind goes. History works the same way. Folks come from wherever they come from and end up wherever they end up. Who knew? To light and then return, fireflies, for instance, their gently blinking signal flares sometimes when it is dark enough, their bodies cannot be seen at all, just their lights. All stories become ghost stories. The way hope builds his house is immaterial by definition and requires unbreakable commodities, not measured by any index, not seen on radar. Haunted. Through what transports of patience, I found the lost sock, keys, and wallet. No panic, no wild tossing of the house. By redirecting the flow of my attention, I created a new supply chain from the kitchen to the closet and redirected my fury. Tried, always, and condemned, always, and guilty, always. It's good to know your limitations. For instance, I want to ride in the Limu limo. Honestly do. So that's those. And then I just have one more. I'm actually going under time a little, but this one is brand new, hot off the presses this morning. So we'll see how it goes. When the levee breaks in the Epstein ballroom and folks get sucked into history, we see how each generation gets the Kennedy it deserves. And this one is revenge for what happened to the last three. Release the flying monkeys. It's a 5-alarm fire in a series of footlockers that were stolen in the night. How to induce a heart attack on the patio of your dreams. Tell me everything you know, they said, but I didn't. Thanks.
Wow.
Thank you, Mitch. And next we hear from Jiwon Choi, who is a poet, early childhood teacher, and urban gardener. Jiwon is the author of 3 poetry collections. Her most recent, A Temporary Dwelling, published by Spite and Dibble last year. Jiwon started her Brooklyn community's garden first poetry reading series, Poets Read in the Garden, to support local writers during the early COVID years. Jiwon is also an editor at Hanging Loose. Welcome, Jiwon.
Thank you so much for including me on this wonderful roster with Jordan, Peter, and Mitch. Beautiful. I'm also, I think, going to stick to some newer poems, and I will read mostly new poems. And I was thinking that I know that this Lit Balm reading is titled Looking Ahead, but I also realize that I don't know that I can actually look ahead if I'm not looking behind me or backwards, kind of not at the same time, but just you know, if there's a way to do it at the same time. I don't know if I've mastered it, but I'm trying. So I'm gonna read about just things are that I still think about from 20, 30 years ago. Jack, you died before your father. a Holocaust survivor. He watched us bartering over your bric-a-brac without comment. We passed our numbers back and forth while he slung his numbers tattooed on his arm over the back of the couch. I brought home your fisherman's sweater and butter knives. I wore the sweater a few times, but packed it away. Sorry I didn't wear it more often, knit to withstand hardcore weather. But 30 years later, Brooklyn is on the verge of becoming Florida Minor. Jack, your butter knives I use almost every day. Jack was a book designer, like really wonderful, who passed away from AIDS many years ago. But I still remember him because I have his butter knives that I use every day. Rockaway Diary, 1989. Sinead O'Connor, The Pope and Me. We're watching Sinead O'Connor rip up the Pope in your Irish Catholic shrine of dark paneling and coffee spill carpeting. I look over at the portrait of JFK thinking he might be weeping, but then I see it's your mother hyena wheezing, your father making no sound, and Jesus giving good stigmata. My family is vintage 1970s Korean, miles to go before becoming American, but we have seen Father Sungmyeon Moon at least once at the big Manhattan Hotel. I think it used to be called the New Yorker. I don't know if it's still there, the hotel. I always remember hearing that there was always like a bed bug infestation in that hotel. I don't care about being glamorous, but I do not like that I'm getting shorter. The inscrutable scrutable is that edges can be smooth. When at the doctor's office, my height is measured, cataloged, and indexed for further reference. Then I find out that I am missing 0.17 inches of myself. All these years as a confident 5'1", now I see I was disappearing, incrementally evaporating over 5 decades, and no one said anything? Where did I go? Is this the erasure that everyone is talking about? The chatbot that lives inside my amygdala says the best part of living in this world is being dead. Anyway, I know what you're going to say, and I agree with you. I do have the right to be mediocre, and I don't care about being glamorous, but I do not like that I am getting shorter. I am the robot of the situation. Inside the coldest supermarket on Fifth Avenue, next door to the e-bike shop, once upon a Spanish language daycare, is where you tell me how ready you are to hear all the answers to the questions you are ready to ask. So easy to trust me in front of this bin of shiitake mushrooms. Because who wouldn't trust somebody ready to plunge their hand into a Gomorrah of fungi? But I'm only good at saying things you don't want to hear. Marriages end in divorce, or when one of us dies. Veggie hot dogs are really 1,000 pencil erasers hammered together. Plastic roses are bad for the environment. No, I don't want to visit your parents over Christmas. And though my advice will sound like hollow reckoning, please consider if there's a 2-for-1 deli meat sale, just say no. To solve problems, insert plot device here. Just like the time Helios sent down the dragon chariot to pluck Medea from harm's way. Yes, that's what I want on the F train, where the men and women have forgotten to put on pants, and the tag team mother-son duo hawking chiclets and chocolate make me out like a cheapskate for holding on to my $2 in between last week's receipts from highfalutin joints where I drink gin and eat shrimp cocktail. I always want to buy something from the people going through the train, but I don't always have $2 with me. I'm just not good at carrying cash around. But I'm a preschool teacher, which means I don't have a lot of cash to carry around. Molecules of Infinity. Lake Baringo in Kenya, double its size, from unprecedented rainfall, up to our noses with hippos and gators, happy to snap us up like a Cheez-It or Hot Pocket, or the fishermen in wooden boats, all the way in. Water will win. When I was 8, I sank to the bottom of a pool on Long Island during a party. It took them a minute to notice. Looking up through a vellum of blue, I was free from feeling. 8 years later, on Rockaway Beach, Neponset to be exact, the molecules of infinity found me passed out from overproof rum, dragging to drown me in water and memory. And I'll read one from my recent book. Here's the Mississippi. Here's the Mississippi. You grew up not knowing about oceans, satisfied with what came out of the faucet. Water beyond does not occur to you. Water a billion years old, dripping down the caves of Johannesburg. Maybe from Mars. The search for life in the rocks will stop when they find the fossil remains of us, saying we are predominantly salt and not much more than single organisms. And here's the Mississippi going back to the beginning, so get your house out of the way. I just want to finish with a poem by Robert Hershon from his Blue Shovel collection. I read it a while ago, but then I found it again, so I wanted to read it. Frying. Hamburgers frying in the dark. Everyone's separate life, a mystery. Thank you so much for including me in this wonderful reading.
Thank you, Jiwon. Fantastic. Next, we hear from our co-collaborator and technical director, John Wessick, whose hundreds of poems and stories have appeared in journals all over the internet and in print, including I-70 Review, Patterson Literary Review, and also Unlikely Stories. John is also regional editor of the San Diego Poetry Annual and host of the Gelato East Fiction Open Mic, as well as the NAV Arts Poetry Reading. John's latest short story collection is called St. John the Blasphemer. John lives in Manchester, New Hampshire, and longs for gene editing to bring giant wombats back from extinction. You can find him on johnwessick.com.
Thank you, Mark. And here is the new book, St. John the Blasphemer. And in honor of Greylock Mountain, I'll read you this short story called Bad Book Reports, Moby Dick. Ishmael and Queequeg sign up as crew on the whaler Pequod. Their harpooning skills would have been useful battling rabbits the size of tractor trailers in Arizona, but Pequod's Captain Ahab takes him on a futile voyage of personal revenge. This leaves Ranger Dirk Slaughter and exobiologist Chet Regret to deal with the bloodthirsty bunnies. The marauding rabbits devour Bob Cratchit, his wife, daughter Martha, and even Tiny Tim, our heroes try to trap them in an abandoned plutonium mine, but the wily long-eared demons stomp the ranch hands guarding the entrance into meat paste with hind legs big as snowmobiles, and eat their brains with teeth the size of grand pianos. So much for Jeb's lucky rabbit foot. Slaughter and Regret set off explosives, but mere nitroglycerin won't stop these hares from hell. Rabbits then obliterate a PTA meeting in an orgy of gore, stomping everyone, including Mrs. Kirby, who gave me a D on my last book report. The fluffle of doom hops towards Tucson, raising dust clouds that can be seen from orbit by KH-11 keyhole spy satellites. In a desperate defense, Slaughter and Regret electrify a railroad track, call out the National Guard, and convince townspeople to attend a screening of What's Up, Doc at the local drive-in theater. On Regret's signal, they turn on their headlights. Blinded by the glare, the 203 high beams, the giant rabbits stumble into Slaughter's trap. The smell of sizzling flesh fills the air as 20,000 volts zap the bloodthirsty cottontails, popping eyeballs like light bulbs and searing Laporte livers like bratwurst at a backyard barbecue. Then the National Guard's M1A1 Abrams tanks open up with their 120 millimeter cannons. Fur rabbits' feet and floppy ears fly everywhere. The drive-in's owner makes a killing selling Hassenpfeffer at the snack bar. And that is based on a real movie called Night of the Lepus about giant rabbits invading Arizona. And also,
Hassenpfeffer at the end, though. Huh?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's our John Westick, everyone. We love him. We love his hairs from hell and his orgies of gore. I love the post-Halloween theme. That works really well. Thank you. We always love you beginning us in this section of Lip Balm. And next we have my fellow Australian. Well, you know, she's a bit of everything, Dominique. Heck, Dominique. I'm sure she's here. I saw her before. No? Yes, she's just coming off mute.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'd like to read a prose poem in 3 parts. It's fairly new, so we'll see how that goes. Treasurer of the night. Distant rumble of storm heads, mice squeaks, pigeons squabble beneath the eaves of the roof. A ship's bell sounds. The sky is post-mortem lividity. Between floating and drowning, you listen to Gaspard de la Nuit, counting visions. Your hand shakes as you attempt to trace the outline of the phantom hovering in the air before your eyes. The phantom projects itself on the walls of your room as through a camera lucida. It's an invasion of whiteness, a murmur, a mantra. You want to touch that voice. Your hand drops in vacuity, snatches all. Night fills in the gaps. You gaze out at the sprawling ruins of the city, the blackened tower, collapsed bridge, antiquated gibbet, the shroud of smoke and tear gas, smatter of twisted dollar coins. Empty hunger crosses your face, records no absolute need. The stink of time catches up with you, begging for penance. You shrug, shake your head, light a last cigarette. I told them your last words were, "But no one will ever be free," says Carbo. They nodded, promised to produce recordings ahead in time. This will make sense if perceived from the right point of view. as the camera sees it, as it officiates in the mind of the populace. The gnome or gnome doesn't mention his underground activities and, shadowed through pirouettes under stones, vanishes. Thank you.
Three-part prose poem is music to my ears. I love hearing you read. You read so beautifully. And the camera lucida moment is glorious. So thank you so much, Dominique. We love hearing from you.
Thank you, Cassandra. Thank you.
Next, we have DeWitt. DeWitt is back in his autumnal orange. It might be his Halloween pumpkin spice top, though. I'm not sure. We love it when he reads. DeWitt's got a cracker today.
Okay, you here?
Absolutely.
Okay. You know the 7 ages of man, from As You Like It. We ripe, and then we rot and rot. This is called We Ripe and Ripe. The French writer Colette, born 1873, died 1954, wrote Freudian romances about material girls. Gigi was best known about a young girl instructed by her aunt to charm and conquer a wealthy older cousin. But my favorite is 1920's Cherie, portraying love between an older woman and a much younger man. Leah was nearing the end of a successful career as a richly kept courtesan, a trope that may have informed Capote's Breakfast at Tiffany's. As Gigi ripens into her perfect lover, Leah ages past her prime and must surrender him to a younger woman. A tragedy for them both. I felt my mother, I confess. I wrote her from grad school. I'm an hourglass. I fill with life as you drain. She replied, that is wrong. You shouldn't feel that way.
Sorry, my mute button was out of reach and I was loving it. I wanted more. I absolutely adore Colette, and I love the way that you put your unique poems together that have facts and biographies and tidbits of all kinds of wonders. So it's a great, fantastic poem. And I'll give you a fun fact. I actually dressed up for Halloween as Gigi when I was at school, and it was a Catholic school. So they rang my mum and told her to take me home and stop letting her child dress like a courtesan. But anyway, it was fun times back then. Absolutely.
Better than Lolita.
Yeah, same idea. Excellent. Okay, next we have, let me check my list. Ronald Bremner. He has got something for us. It's been a while since we've heard from Ronald, but we always love to hear from him.
Ron was saying he has to leave.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. That's a shame. Maybe next time. Well, we have Kurt Lovelace, so that is a sensation today. Very lucky. Kurt, what are you going to read us?
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Oh, you do? Okay. I'm not hearing myself, which is odd. 1 second here. Why am I not hearing myself? 1 second, hold on. Testing. Okay. You hear me fine?
Yeah, you sound amazing.
Well, wish I could hear myself. Strange. 1 second here. Why am I not? Okay, now, there we go. Complicated controls here, sorry. This is a short poem, the draft called To the Writer for Denise Levertov. As your eyes move pen to poem, perhaps you paint a bear moaning its leg, trapped, bleeding, dying dusk blue snow, ruby with injury. I'd like to ask, were you suffering too? As pen moves my eyes to poem, gods consort in libraries, in well-thumbed books, the irises, and the ovals of their eyes turning, colors of the fall's whirlwind leaves. If someone asks, I am suffering too. As this poem bends our eyes over it, the bone moon drags the night ocean, turning its dark pages into seats of salt, waiting for each of us to turn back into what we started from. If anyone asks, this is how suffering ends.
Ah, it's so good. Thank you so much. The intertextual qualities are so rich. You read it so beautifully. And Were You Suffering Too breaks my heart a little bit every time I hear it. So beautiful. Thank you so much for reading for us. It's a real treat. And we have, I think Tom might be next. Tom, unmute and give me a yell if that's right. I'm not sure.
Hi.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We would love to hear something from you.
Sure. I'll read a quite short, semi-Halloweenish poem. It's a little bit dark, called, appropriately enough, The Extended Family. The extended family congregates, and with the help of a death-cheating ancient relative behind a camera, kills some time with its annual group photo, all smiling in anticipation of the preservation, as if in amber, of an utterly dead moment. Each looking happy, like there might be something for them in the will. Thank you.
Oh, I loved that. I have seen that with my own eyes at my own family gatherings. So it resonates. It's so good. It's like dark humor though. I love the bit about the death cheating ancient relative behind a camera. It's my worst nightmare. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're finishing with our favorite two, Cindy and Bob. And Cindy has cat ears and she also has an announcement to make, I think, my sis Sin from Brooklyn.
Yeah. Well, I'll make a long story short. Some of you are familiar with my I Am the Girl poems. You may also be familiar with the fact that Cassandra and Paul Hetherington used it as a prompt to do a poem that's a lot better than mine. And I published it in my magazine, and I also saw it in International Times. And well, I'm working with a client. I'm a copy editor, and she's a great writer. She also has a small press called Rain Mountain. Out of the blue, she asked me about 2 weeks ago where she said that she and an avant-garde filmmaker named Rosalind Palermo Stevenson are making a new imprint called Cassandra Press, of all things. And would I like to submit my I Am the Girl? She wanted my I Am the Girl poems. There are only 10 of them. And she had heard some of them. And I told her that my book, the manuscript, is out with another publisher who doesn't take simultaneous submissions. So I can't give it to you yet. But I did withdraw it. And he said, he was very gracious about it. He said, we were going to take it, but jump at the chance, if someone solicited you. And so basically, I signed the contract. It's a regular contract. It's got royalties and everything. Very generous. And somewhere along the line, I remembered that my first poem from that book was written as an ekphrastic poem of all things. I thought I didn't write ekphrastics for my friend's collage. And my publisher wanted those collages. So we now have 5 of her collages, and Mr. Heeman is going to do a cover collage. And it's sort of a joint effort with under the imprint of Cassandra. And having said all that, I am not going to read one. Why? Because there are only 10. And if I read one and give it away, you won't buy the damn book. So I'm going to read 2 short ones. They're really bad. But this one, it's a one-liner. And I sent it to one sentence poems, which is an actual magazine. And they're going to reject it. But Bob said that he liked this poem, and that if he was still publishing Clown War, he would use it. So I'll read it. It's called Observations on a Rainy Day, and Mark would have to help me with the subtitle, the pronunciations in French. Parapluies for umbrellas. It means umbrellas. And all it is November is the best month for umbrellas. And what I do is every month, depending when I'm reading it, I change the month. That's why it's November. But it works better, obviously, in April and May and rainy months. And the second one is called Halloween Haiku. Garish and gaudy, his east wing demolition, Poe's raven howling.
Absolutely love it. Congratulations. I can't believe there's a book in print called Cassandra. That just sounds perfect. Everybody needs a prophetess of doom.
From mythology.
Yeah, absolutely. And you heard Cindy buy the damn book when it comes out. I think that's important. I'm sure you'll let us know when we can pre-order, right, Sin?
February. It's supposed to drop in February, and you'll all get a free copy. You know
We'll
that.
know. Sign up to Cindy's Facebook.
You know I'm not going to charge for my book. I'm just going to buy up 200 copies and mail them out.
Wow, we can't wait. We can't wait. But we do have Bob, who always finishes our lip balm with his suave kind of enigmatic piece. It could be information. It could be an older piece. It could have been written this afternoon. Who knows? Bob. Oh, it's not afternoon there yet, right? Oh, yeah, it is. It's just not afternoon here. Bob, what have you got for us?
Something that was written this morning, actually.
Oh, look at that. Excellent.
Boundaries. What is known, only useful in the night. What is spoken, only the boundary of what is permitted. The distance traveled, always more than what is measured.
That's our Bob. That's how you do it.
Oh,
That's how you make us think for the rest of the day. Love it. Absolutely love it. Thanks. It's so lovely to see all my favorites back today. Mark, I include you in that. I think are you closing, or Jeff and his lovely puppet?
So I'm doing my Japanese garden right now.
Oh, I love your Japanese garden.
yeah.
So who
that was so much fun.
It was so much fun. What a great afternoon, right?
Who do we have next, though? We have Poets of Puerto Rico on November 8, which includes Kimberly Reyes, Jennifer Martisha Macaulay, Isabel Gonzalez, Raina Leon, Dorcia Smith-Silva, and Jane Abedestan Corral. So that should be quite interesting.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank everybody so much. And a couple of people, maybe next time they read, we'll get them to read Sarah Sarai Lydia Cortez there. It's always good to see them. And also, just to mention, on January 8th, we're going to have Maureen Owen and Dennis Nerksey and a couple of other people. So that'll be coming up too. And again, it was so great to see everybody, huh?
100%.
Hear
Fantastic.
that and
Fantastic
to
reading.
hear
Bravo and brava.
such good stuff today.
Ah.
So just like in the theme of the daily diatribe, this is called The Storms We Keep. If it's about work, don't come to me, Trudy said, washing her fingers in foamy soap. It was one of those dark and stormy nights. The world was a whirl behind our walls and within me. I knew she had her head like a fish, concentrating on getting the job done tout sweet. So I was inclined to angle, get the pun, for advice. Salmon is in the oven for dinner, she said, turning her grimace into a smile. It was as if an ancient Mesopotamian gong, God had smashed a gong. Wow. And jazz was always in there working its way out. And of course, the mackerel were there, nipping at my heels, anchovies at my knees. There were moray eels wrapping themselves around my waist and piperfish skimming my neck for morsels of old vocalizations. But yet we ate in silence, listening to each other's jaws, mashing all that incriminating evidence. Thank you so much, everybody, for a wonderful reading tonight. And thank you again, all you folks who joined us as features. We shall see you hopefully next week on November 8th. And lots of love and poetry to everybody. Take care, yeah? Cheers. Bye.